Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone. I have a new NBA DFS video for you guys today. But before we go over it, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, it's your first time here, have not seen any of my videos before, the only thing you need to do to be a part of the community, get access to the videos, is to become a subscriber. That's basically it. So if you have not subscribed as of yet, please do so down below. Do not forget also to put on your post notifications, that bell icon. Make sure you turn that on so this way you don't miss out on any of my new uploads. And I upload pretty much every day, 6 days a week for the NBA until the NFL season concludes. And then we'll have 7 videos a week. So, okay, with that being said, today is Friday. It's November the 8th. 2019, and we have a large 11-game slate today. And before I get started with the slate, I do a weekly drawing here on DFS Zone. I'm handing out player pools or lineups. I prefer the player pools because, lineups, they're not guaranteed. Neither other player pools, but at least with a player pool, you at least have an opportunity to look at 15, 18, 19 plays, maybe even 20, depending on a slate like this. For example, today will probably be closer to like 22 to 23 plays. But it allows you to have an idea more or less how to build some lineups with at least 22 to 23 plays as opposed to looking at 50, 60 plays. So, but that's basically it. So again, if you're interested in that and you want to be a part of that, the only thing you need to do to be a part of the drawing, it'll be done on a weekly basis, is to be, obviously, you have to drop a like on the video. You have to comment down something below regarding the slate. It could be about any of the matches. You can ask questions. It's not a problem. I do the best I can to help everybody. I do respond back to all comments. I always find it my business to do it throughout the day. So I will definitely get back to you again. And also, you have to be a subscriber. So again, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. As long as you do all 3 of those things and you are in, after I check in everything at the end of the week, you are in the drawing. And it's just another opportunity for you guys to get additional information on a weekly basis for at least a week. Okay. Also, I started a Patreon page, and my Patreon is basically, I'm going to have some tiers there. So anybody that's been, some of you that has shown interest in possibly getting more information from me directly, that is a way for you to be able to do that. So to go to my Patreon page is at Patreon. You just go to DFS Zone. Check out all that information. It will be in the bottom of the description of this video. So check that out as well. You'll be helping me out for my time that I put into doing, the research. Okay. So let's get right to it. So again, today, first things first, I want to say a couple of things really quickly regarding large slates like this. And I've said it before in the past, last year. Large slate like this, 11 games, man, a lot of the ways you can go, no doubt about it. It is very hard, even with the 5 guys that I'll give you here today. I'd be totally honest with you. I'm a GPP player. I do multiple lineups. On a slate like this, I always have at least 2 to possibly 3 lines of core players because you're capable of doing it. There's more than enough players. So I want you guys to really take always into consideration. If you're playing multiple lines, or if you're playing an 11-game slate, 10-game slate, even a 9-game slate, there is always an opportunity. There's always going to be more than enough players for you to make 2 possible solid core lines. So I like to always make my cores 5 to 6 players here on Fanduel, and the same if on DK or Yahoo or wherever you play at, you should do the same. And then basically work on finding your value on the other positions. But easily a day like today, the one tip I can give in strategy for you guys is make sure that you do multiple lines. The 5 I give you here today could be a core. You can mix and match a few of the others that I mentioned, but at the same time, there are more than enough players here today in favorable matchups that you can have 2 or 3 core lines. One core line and an 11-game lineup with 5 players, 6 players, is and you betting on everything that you have on those 5 or 6, and then just sprinkling the other differences on the other positions is not the smartest thing, at least in my opinion, for you to do on a large game, on a large slate like this. So I highly recommend make sure you have some core plays and have them in 2 or 3 setups. Okay. Another thing, also another tip I can give individuals as well is that a large slate like this, you look for those implied totals. We talk about implied totals. We want those paced up games. We want those high scoring games. Well, there's a few of them tonight. I mean, the top one of the night is New Orleans and Toronto with a 235 implied total, and Toronto's only favored by 2.5, so that should be a pretty tight game, high scoring. You should have some exposure to that game if you're looking for core plays. Brooklyn, Portland, 233.5. Portland favored by 3. That should be another interesting game for the late slate. You should have exposure to the late game slate for one, so this way, at least if you're in the running in the tournament, you have a shot to watch all the way to the end of the night. And not only that is that second implied total game, like I said, you could find some good plays in these lineups in the Brooklyn and Portland game as well. The third game, Washington-Cleveland, 230.5. Washington favored by 5. Is another game you should definitely target for possibly core plays. The next one after that is Minnesota Golden State. This one is a possible fade for me. I'm not right now. I would say more than likely, but there is one or two players I do like in this actual game between Minnesota Golden State. The only problem with this game, it does have a good implied total, 230. It's the fourth largest in the night, but Minnesota is favored by 11 in this matchup. The next one is Sacramento and Atlanta. Is another one that I feel that you guys should target. 219.5. Sacramento favored by 2 going into Atlanta. And Atlanta with Trae Young back and needing a bounce back game, I think that's going to be an interesting game to actually get a couple of core players as well. And that's basically it. So again, I think those are areas that you should definitely. So always look at the implied totals, and it's nothing wrong with targeting the games that have like a 210 implied total. Just the longest the spread is under 5 or 6 or lower. I would target those games if I wanted to in a large slate like that. So that's another way you can go. I'm not saying just strictly just go with the implied total, high implied total games. If you don't like those plays and you feel that your gut is telling you focus on the 210 to 215 implied total game, you do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Just to make sure, the only key thing is make sure the game is not right now in line for a possible blowout. And that's pretty much it. That's just a couple little tips there for a big slate like this. All right, let's get right to it. So we're going to go right to the top at point guard. And again, like I said, I do have my eye on a couple of guys as far as core plays, but I'm going to tell you which ones I like the best right now at the very moment. Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, and Kyrie Irving are definitely interesting plays. I do believe I will have exposure as a core to a couple of lines with Lillard as well as Kyrie Irving, just simply because they both are not the greatest defenders. This is one of the high implied total games of the night. If I look at the numbers that I have, Kyrie Irving going up against Portland. Portland's giving up 37.2 fantasy points per game. And the other thing that's very interesting is that his usage rate with Brooklyn is 34.5%. And that is huge. That is huge. He takes tons of shots. So Kyrie Irving is definitely, for me, a more favorable play as far as numbers and usage than it is for me to take Damian Lillard. But again, D-Lil is playing on the back-to-back. You know, it's on the front end, but he's playing at home, and he gets up for big games. So Damian Lillard is definitely someone you must consider at 10,000, needing 50. A couple other guys that are in paced-up games that are in favorable matchups that I'm going to discuss is Kyle Lowry going up against the Pelicans. The Pelicans are giving up the most fantasy points to opposing point guards in this particular slate tonight, 49.3. So you should have, and I will have him as a core play as well throughout the day. I'll make that decision, but right now I like those numbers with Kyle Lowry and the way he's playing. He should at least meet value, maybe even crush it with a 49.3. That's the worst on the slate and the worst probably in the league. The New Orleans Pelicans, and even if Lonzo Ball plays or not, I think it's still a good play there. But I'm gonna slot in here Trae Young. I had played him once so far this year at 9,300. Some people are gonna be like, hey, you know what? Why Trae Young? Well, he's first of all he's playing up in a game. Sacramento's a paced up team. Atlanta is not as paced up as they used to be last year, but they can play a pace up game, and this guy's for sure gonna take a lot of shots. Trae Young coming in here, 24 points per game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 38.9 fantasy points per game at 9,300. You need 46. On DK, he's 8,900. You need 44. He's averaging 39. Could get you he's closer to 50, as you can see, to 40, excuse me. But he got 50, 60 point upside. That's for one. Two, that other thing I like, his shooting percentage is really good right now. 46% from the floor, 41% from three. Shooting from the foul line, 80%. His usage rate is the best in this particular slate. He has the highest usage rate going into their games tonight at 35.3. That is the 8th best in the NBA. Okay, the guy's taking 21 to 22 shots per game and 8 to 9 threes. I love all of that with the usage rate and in a favorable matchup against a team that gives up quite a bit of fantasy points. We're looking at Sacramento giving up 34.2 fantasy points per game. All right, that is huge, and he's also playing at home. Bounce back game for Trae Young. I do like Trae Young here today. Other than that, I mean, there are some guys, like I said, Kyle Lowry. Don't forget that Jarrett Culver. We just did get word that Jeff Teague, I believe, is out. So Culver, if he starts, he'll be definitely an option. He's on small forward eligible here on Fanduel, but he is a point guard eligible on DK. Bauman is in a good spot here, 5,100 going up against Detroit. Detroit gives up 38.7 fantasy points per game. So he's someone to consider. And then, of course, you got Raul Nieto. Nieto is going to more than likely get a start here with Ben Simmons out. So he's probably going to be the biggest value play of the day in any of the positions at 3,700. So I will be slotting him in there as well. Those are guys to look at. All right, shooting guard at the top. You got Jimmy Butler play last night. I was on Jimmy Butler yesterday. He had a pretty decent game. I thought he was going to put up even bigger numbers, but nonetheless respectable. A little bit of a challenge of pace down game. Miami's pacing up this year. I still think Jimmy Butler is still fine here. I think I will be playing him maybe a good 15% of my lines. Bradley Beal in a good spot at home. I mean, he's always up and down, but, man, the tons of shots he's going to take. Cleveland, this is a favorable matchup for him. He should do well here. But, again, like I always tell you guys, nothing's guaranteed. You got to play the games, and anything can happen. He can have an off-night shooting, and he has had a few of those this year. So Bradley Beal is a little bit of a risk. I will probably take Jimmy B for $100 more, even on a back-to-back. Who has been a monster in back-to-backs in the past. It's not going to be an issue with him as far as playing back-to-back. But I'm coming down to Andrew Wiggins against Golden State. I do like Andrew Wiggins in this matchup here. Wiggins is coming in here at the moment, 7,100. You need 35 to me value. He's playing over 30 minutes a game, especially in the last two games. Look at the numbers, 21 or over as far as floor points in the last three games. He's not going to give you some big numbers as far as rebounding. Granted, he did give you 6 assists in the last game. He can get you some steals and blocks. He's averaging 22 points, nearly 5 rebounds, 2 assists. I love the factors that he's just playing more than enough minutes. 32 or better in the last two games. Can get you 45 to 50 at this price tag. He is in a favorable matchup. The guy is shooting 45% from the floor, 34% from three. And when Teague is not, and his usage rate is 27%. When there's no Jeff Teague on the floor and he's not playing, he bumps up to almost 29.5%. I do like Andrew Wiggins a whole lot here. Granted, without Teague, obviously, there's a huge bump for Towns. He goes from 27, 28% to 30. And Culver, the young man I just spoke about, the rookie, he could possibly be slotted in at point guard, and he gets a bump up to about 22% when there's no Jeff Teague. So there are a couple Minnesota guys you could look at in this game. The only drawback is that it could possibly be a blowout, so hopefully not, to keep it close. I do like Andrew Wiggins. He's going up against Golden State. They have given up 33. First things first, he's taking, I don't know if I mentioned, he's taking about 18, 19 shots a game and 5 to 6 threes a game on average. And that's pretty darn good. And in his last two games, that has increased to 20 to 21 shots a game and 6 or 7 threes. And that was all due to Teague not being there or Towns. So I do like Andrew Wiggins a whole lot here. Going up against Golden State, they're giving up 33.4 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. Harden put up 73 on them. Dwayne Bacon put up 41. Booker 43 over the course of the last 5 games. So again, Andrew Wiggins is in play for me. Other than those guys, at the top, D'Angelo Russell would be someone that I'll be interested in. And like I said, Jimmy B. I'm a little hesitant on Bradley Beal right now. Donovan Mitchell at home is always a possibility. It is a tough matchup. You probably have some Chris Middleton defense on him. You come down here, I do have a little bit of interest in Karis LeVert as well as C.J. McCollum. I think those are nice, fair prices for them. They're pretty consistent. They should get their 35 to 40. And then other than that, I'm pretty much good from that point on in. All right, at small forward, those are the two key guys. At small forward at the top, you got Giannis, you got LeBron James. I'm actually going to fade these guys today, at least for me. I wouldn't say if you're going to have either one of the two, I think you'll probably go with James, in my opinion, as opposed to Giannis here against Utah. And Utah is just tough across the board. Siakam in a good matchup, you could go there. Pascal Siakam, I'm going to bypass him a little bit today, but I'm going to come down. And I am going with actually a Brooklyn player here. I'm going to go with Taurean Prince here, TP, at 6,000. He's playing really, really well as of late. At 6,000 here on FanDuel. He is 6,000 also on DK. Obviously, if he's on the same price on DK, he's a better play on FanDuel. And at 33 to almost as much as 37 minutes over the last 3 games, he's averaging 15.7 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, almost 30 fantasy points per game, but he has 40-point upside. He's done it 3 times already, and he has had about 40 or more in 2 of the last 3 games. and he's actually 2 double-doubles during the course of that time, as well as had 20 or better floor points in 2 out of the last 3 games. So he's playing solid basketball. He has shown this potential here when he was coming up with the Atlanta Hawks, and now obviously he is really, fitting in well with the Brooklyn team. Other than that, man, I mean, 40 plus in the last 2 of the last 3 games. He's shooting 43% from the floor, 40% from 3. His usage rate is, pretty decent at 20%. He is getting some action. I do like Taurean Prince here. He's going up, he's going up against Taurean is going up against Portland, and Portland is right now, like I said before, they're on the front end of a back-to-back, so I'm banking on him having a look. Not only that, Rodney Hood has been playing really well at small forward, but considering they played the back-to-back last night, I am favoring a little bit Prince in this front court game here. He's allowed the Portland team has allowed 26.5 fantasy points per game to a small forwards. They gave up 51 recently to Kawhi Leonard, 36 to DeRozan, and 36 to Will Barton, and 31, and they averaged all 31 to 32 minutes, and he is playing about 32 to 33 minutes himself. Other than Taurean Prince, my next guy that I'm going to make as a separate core, or maybe even fit him in here if I can, will be Will Barton. 5,800, he's been playing solid, so Will Barton is definitely in play for me. 5,800, you need 28, he's averaging 30, so he's underpriced at the moment, playing 32 minutes and has put up 34 plus in 2 straight games. He's starting to really get cooking and shooting the ball well. Will Barton is in play for me, and of course he's also playing at home. Other than that, Markieff Morris had a good game. I told you guys the other day that he might be a better play than his brother. He ended up being the better play. I think he's someone to keep on your radar at 4,700. He's 4,400 on DK. Troy Brown, if he gets the start, I know he had a bum. I had him, and he had like a 17, 16-minute game. Didn't play a whole lot of minutes. Could be one that if he starts today, could be a bounce-back game for him. Get more than 20 minutes. He can definitely smash this $4,000. And, of course, like I said, Jarrett Culver is under here as far as you can see, he had 3,800 on Fanduel as a small forward. You can actually place him here in this lineup with Taurean Prince if you wish. And remember, on DK, you can play him as a point guard. So those are the guys I'm looking at there. At power forward, at the top, you got Anthony Davis, Kevin Love. I do like Kevin Love. I do like Domantas Sabonis. And Domantas Sabonis is the one I'm going with here. Obviously, with Jeremy Lamb, Malcolm Brogdon, when I spoke about Taurean Prince, I don't know if I mentioned Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is in play for me as well. He is going to be one of my cores for sure today because he gets a bump as far as usage when there's no Lamb on the floor. And the same could be said for Sabonis. Sabonis is up there at 9,000, but he's going to be consistent. Sabonis at 9,000, you need 45. He's 8,700 on DK, so about 43 would get you there, averaging 42 fantasy points. And as you can see, his last 3 games that he has played, he has put up 47 or better. He's pretty much averaging about 48. So that should at least make value. But in a game like this with no Turner as well as no Goga, man, he's going to need to do a lot, and he is willing to do it. I could see him playing in the upwards of 37 to maybe even 40 minutes if this game stays close. And Sabonis, as long as he stays out of foul trouble, should be able to get 50 or better here tonight. I really feel he's going to get 50 or better here tonight. He's shooting pretty well from the floor, too, 54% from 3 points. He don't take a ton of them, but he has been efficient, 43% from there, averaging about 15, 16 shots a game. His usage rate is not bad at all just to begin with, 23.5. His usage rate is at 23.5%, and with no Lamb, it bumps up to about close to 26, and the same could be said for Brogdon. So this is why Domantas Sabonis, as well as Brogdon, and even T.J. Warren, if I said before, when Lamb was out the last time, these are the 3 guys you got to definitely look for and make sure that you have exposure to. Other than Sabonis, like I said, I think Siakam, who plays small forward on FanDuel but is power forward eligible on DK, is definitely in play. Kevin Love, I do love Kevin Love. He had 9,300. I could see myself paying up for Kevin Love. He's going up against Washington, and Washington has been allowing 30 fantasy points per game. They did give up 31 recently to Sampson, 32 to Covington, and 45 to Aldridge. So I do like the matchup for Kevin Love there. And Siakam, again, he has played already his first game against New Orleans. He put up a 62 spot, so he is definitely in a favorable matchup as well. Now, again, I'm speaking about Siakam here as a small forward, as a power forward, because he's power forward eligible on DK. And that's where I'm at with those guys there. At center, so at center at the top, Towns and Drummond. Obviously, these guys, for me, I think they are in play, man. I really do like putting myself in a core line and having maybe Townsend a couple of my lineups, and the same can be said for Drummond in a good matchup against Indiana. Tough going to be other than those two. I mean, I really have a strong interest. Yeah, I know he played last night, but this kid here could put 1.2, 1.3 fantasy points per minute on the board. Hassan Whiteside is someone I'm interested in. I love picking on Brooklyn, and every time I do, I end up doing okay. And I am no different tonight. I know he played last night. He only played 27 minutes. And his minutes are just creeping up a little bit. It's only the last 2 games. He's played 27 and 20 minutes. Prior to that, he was only playing 24 and a half, 25 minutes. But in that short period of time, he could put huge numbers. Okay, 14 and a half, almost 15 points a game, 13 rebounds. We're not worrying about assists from him. We don't need him to pass the ball. We need him to rebound, block shots, and basically get those little putbacks and into alley-oops. And that's what he's good at. 17 and 22 in the last 2 games, 2 double-doubles in a row, 3 in the last 3 straight if you want to consider it, going back to the game prior to the one that he did not play. He's shooting 59% from the floor, 70% from the free throw line, averaging 1.5 blocks a game, can get you a steal. His usage rate is at 22.5%. He takes 8 to 9 shots a game, but over the last 2 games, he's been taking 16 shots per game. So that's a tremendous jump, over almost 7 more shots a game over the last 2 games. So I'm going to ride that momentum. He is trending upward. He's definitely in a good spot tonight. Like I said, he's going up against Brooklyn. Brooklyn has allowed 37.3 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. They did give 78 to Drummond. They have given up 44 to Valanciunas and 72 to Towns. So, again, I like the matchup. I think this is a great spot for him to smash. At 7,800, you only need 38. He's actually, I don't even know if I gave you the prices. On DK, 6,500, folks. You got to have him in some of your core lines. If you make more than one core lineup, Hassan Whiteside should be on one of those core lines, all right? 6,500 on DK. It is really low for him at 32. You only need 32 to meet value. He should definitely get 40 or more in this matchup, and we know he has 50-point upside. And that's pretty much where I'm at, man. That is it, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you a lot of luck. So we got Young, Wiggins, Prince, Sabonis, Whiteside. Again, don't just go by these lines. You like 2 of these players, you like 3 of them, you play them. I'm not telling you that you got to play these guys. Like I just said at the beginning of the video, you must have, in a game like this, in a slate like this large, you got to have a couple of lines that you really like, couple of core plays. And it's going to be at least 15 to 16 guys you're going to put together, and you're going to realize, man, I could definitely build a core with these guys. Now, if you can get in those mid-tier plays, look for the values, and get them on there as the day progresses and moves on closer to lock time, you're going to be just fine tonight. All right, so I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.